Did you know goldenrod makes an excellent tea?
Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday, dear Aaron.
Me. You are a sad, strange little man, and you have my pity.
Or what's inside. You suck. Finally, we're going to reveal the... Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Tomic's... veteran of the comic book industry for 30 years, I'm a writer, I'm an artist, and this sucks.
Stew, and her name is Minerva Ouch. She's the flower of the flower coach.
Don't start! We haven't left yet!
Welcome, everybody. It's another day. It's another episode of Aaron Live. I am, of course, Aaron. It is August 17th, 2025. We are midway through the 8th month of the year. Do you realize it'll be Christmas before you know it? Just saying, time... When I was a little kid, when I was a wee lad, I would dream of being 16 and old enough to drive a car. And it seemed like it took forever to get there. And then once I hit my 20s, things really started speeding up. Then when I hit my 30s, and here we are, 61 years old, wearing my Jack Kirby Tales to Astonish shirt. There is a monster at my window. Yes, I do own this comic in about a 7.0. So, welcome. What a show have I got for you tonight? I don't know, it's probably about the same as they all are, but hopefully it's enough to keep you engaged for a couple hours and before I have to go make dinner. That's kind of how I look at it. So let's move this thing along and just take a moment to engage with all of you out there in TV land. Past Master Dan is here. He says, morning, Mr. Lopresti. That means he was here this morning when I actually set up the stream. So Past Master Dan has been raring and ready to go for quite some time. And we appreciate it. Corum is here. That's no, that's not the Corum from Australia. I think Corum Zenith is from Australia. It says Batman hasn't read Wraith of God, and look what happens. Yeah, he pulls out the old gun, blows his head off. Can you imagine that cover today? That Kaluta cover that I had there as the thumbnail, you know, with Batman with a gun to his head, probably wouldn't fly. Dramers says a dystopian theme this week. Nice. It's all the rage these days. Is there a dystopian theme? Man, you post the weirdest comments in the video, below the video. Sometimes I'm just like scratching my head going, what is he talking about? And right now I'm doing it again. Dystopian. What did I say? Dean Cornwell, Bigfoot, and MICHAEL KALUTA. How is that dystopian? I don't know. Stealth X5 is here. Bretsky the Great. Pantheon is here. Corey Landis. Aaron, I have to watch Corey Landis says, Aaron, I have to watch the 1990 Ninja Turtle movie on the big screen tonight. Please don't find Bigfoot without me. Well, I do have some new Bigfoot videos. Whether or not we've actually found them, I guess you'll be the final judge on that. Amoral Fat 40 Ounces has a shout out. Thanks for joining us. Pity Maw's here. Randy Howell, all the way from Canada, is joining us. Michael Bancroft. Wow, on the other side of the world, no doubt wrestling a huntsman spider even as I speak right now in Australia. Welcome, Michael. Thanks for joining us. JS is here. Marcus Killigrew, purveyor of all things pop culture knowledge, is joining us. Apex Comics says the dog wants a piece of cake. Don't really understand that reference, but that's fine. Bill Maxwell is here. Who else? Oh, there's Leg Kick. Leg Kick is here because Leg Kick is almost always here. Entity is joining us. Stealth X5 for $2. Spreads good cheer by saying hello. Thank you, Stealth X5. I need to trim my beard. It's getting unruly. I got to make Shelly trim my beard here pretty soon so I can have that sort of. I look like, I've got that Santa Claus look going. I did trim the sides a little bit here, but it's getting a little bushy down here. I like that sort of, really close cropped, sort of like, kind of feel like you're a happening dude. That kind of look. This sort of Santa Claus thing, not really digging it. Let's see here. A lot of conversation. Oh, Merilith 2005 says stream the thumbnail. Batman doesn't fly, Aaron. I don't know what you guys are talking about. I have any concept of what's going on in the chat right now. Michael Bancroft says he misses his huntsman spider. I don't believe that. I mean, I guess if you grow up in Australia, you're used to like giant snakes in your house and spiders that are like that freaking big in your house. I mean, I suppose you guys are used to it. Me, not so much. I don't know how I would deal with that. I did go to Australia once, spent 2 weeks there, a week in, what's the big town? Oh my gosh. And then went up to the rainforest up there and went to the Great Barrier Reef. That we were out in the jungle and we had like these little bungalows and out in the like the rainforest, which I didn't even know Australia had rainforest. It's like I learned something. They have the desert. They've got like the regular place where everybody lives, the cities, so forth. And that why can't I think of the name of the main city in Australia? What is wrong with me? Anyway, so we went up to a place called Cairns, which was shockingly a 4-hour flight because you forget how big Australia is. You think you're on this little island. We'll go up to, Northeast Australia from down here, and it'll take an hour, 4-hour flight. I mean, it was some distance. And so we went to a little small town called Cairns, which is very much a tourist town, not the Cannes Film Festival Cairns, but the Australian Cairns. And from there, we caught like a boat that took us to this Gilligan's Island place that was like up in the rainforest, and they had like sugarcane fields and all this kind of stuff. And it was called Silky Oaks Lodge. And we went out there and we stayed in these little bungalows on the edge of the rainforest. And there was like giant iguanas like hanging out in trees. And I saw some big spiders. They gave us bug spray, and there was a couple of big spiders, but not a ton. But nothing like a huntsman spider. I didn't see anything that big. But so I got a little taste. We saw a stick bug. It's pretty cool. Things like that. Praying mantis. Anyway. Hey, Snozhead is here. He says, "Rip Terrence Stamp." Did I see that? I thought I saw something about that he passed away. The only true Zod. W.S. Weist is here. That's, of course, Bill Weist. He had him on the show once on Creator's Corner, I do believe. The Geek Easy is here. Saw nobody. Oh, yeah, here we go. The Geekies, he says, I'm here. I saw Nobody 2 earlier. Do you know who I think liked it? Nobody. Okay, there you go. There's a quick review right there for Nobody 2. I didn't even see Nobody 1. Thank you. Sydney, Australia is what I was trying to think of. Where the opera house is and the big, they got the big bay there and the bridge. And we went out on a ride on a ferry on the bay, right out to the mouth of the ocean, which was kind of cool. And yeah, only 5 million people live in that town. That's what I was trying to think of. Why couldn't I think of Sydney, Australia? But I just couldn't think of it. Old age, I guess. Did I hug a koala? Yes. Well, they gave us a koala, but it was like it had a hold of this post, like a little, I don't know, but they wouldn't let us actually touch the koala. We had to hold the thing that he was holding. So we're like, hey, and so anyway, but I do have a picture of it. There's Phil DS is in the chat. He'll be joining me, I don't know, September 4th, I think, as he's launching his new campaign, and we'll get a little preview of that. Let's see here. There you go. That's how you remember it. Sydney Sweeney. That's how you remember Sydney. Koalas has STDs. Okay, thanks for sharing that. Okay, well, let's get on with the show, shall we? I've got a lot of stuff planned. Let's see if I can actually execute it flawlessly, which rarely happens. But that doesn't mean I don't want you to like and subscribe to this channel. I keep thinking that practice makes perfect. So I'll keep doing these shows until I get it right. And I want to drag you guys kicking and screaming along for the ride. But please hit that like and subscribe button, because it helps the channel grow. And everybody tells me that's like a really good thing. And I don't know. My life hasn't really changed as I've gone from a couple hundred viewers to over 4,000 viewers, which still, that's small fry, man. I got to catch I want to get like Matt Walsh numbers, get up there in the millions. I just don't think there's a million comic book fans out there that would, want to watch a show like this. Interestingly enough, on Comicsgate Kings Monday night, Ethan was making fun of the name of the show, Aaron Live. And that has been the name of the show for 4.5, 5 years, however long I've been doing it. And yes, it's been that long. And I have been in the, recently thinking, should I rebrand? I can't really imagine my content would change all that much, but should I come out with a new name and a new shtick? I don't even know what I would call it. Carnival of Misinformation, something like that, maybe. So anyway, maybe I will do that at some point. I don't know. I don't know if it'll make a difference or not. Anything with comic in the title is going to limit your audience. Let's just face it. Okay. Let's, I did just get, I just went and got snacks, so I think we can do that. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat. All right. So this is Overjoyed. Mint cookies and cream indulgent trail mix. Now, you see, look at the picture on there. It's just dripping with chocolate and stuff and candy. And you look at this and you say, oh, trail mix. That's healthy. Not this trail mix, but you know what? I'm eating it anyway because it sure is good. And I will I'll break the cardinal rule of radio and podcasting and whatever else you want to call this, because we're going to eat live on screen. So healthy. The energy is flowing. Amazing. All right. Well, as I'm choking this down, let's see what Frank Frazetta has to offer us today. There's a couple of things that are interesting about that painting. One is, whose butt's bigger, the horse's or the girl riding the horse? Did you notice that Frank, like, he looked like he painted in a little cottage cheese on the back of her lower bum there, on her left-hand side? I thought was kind of interesting. The reason I really like that painting is, number one, the horse, and I don't even know if that's a legitimate horse gallop position, but it looks cool. So who cares, right? The last thing you want is someone to come up to you, and I've had people do this to me before, and say, I'm a horse person, and that horse you drew, is not right. I'm like, I'm drawing a comic book. I'm trying to get a sense of energy. I don't care if it's 100% correct. Okay, I don't. They don't get it. Horse people are really pissy about that stuff. But anyway, I like that horse, whether it's correct or not. And I really like the color in that. I like that yellow coming through that wave from the sun. I just think it's a really interesting painting. And he did it in 1989. So he was born in 1929. So in 89, that makes him what, 60? So he was 60 years old. He's basically my age when he painted that. In my face. All right, what are you going to do? It's Frazetta. So anyway, I happen to like that painting quite a bit. Your mileage may vary. And let's see. Apex Comics says Frazetta illustrates gorgeous booty and horses. Okay, now Michael Bancroft's being disgusting, but that is I don't know how comfortable writing naked bareback would be, but yeah, there you go. That can't be comfortable. And Michael Bancroft, of course, calling out the crack. So, and it was there. For sure, Randy Hall says William Shatner is a major horse person. Apex, you are correct. It's the effect that's important and not how correct the artwork is. And boy, nothing is more true in fantasy and comic book art than that statement. Okay. Well, let me look at my list here. Oh, it's that time where Taco Bell comes in and gives you an advertisement, but we don't have Taco Bell as a sponsor, so we'll do my book instead. Now, I do have some kind of, I don't know, it's not exactly breaking news, but I do have some news about Wraith of God 3 Fear Hollow. I sent out an update. I sent out a email to all the backers, or all the potential backers, or everybody on my mailing list, maybe would be a better way to put that. And also posted on Twitter that, well, here's the exclusive content that you only get on this video. I told everybody that I would just finish page 60 and I had 5 to go. Well, I had misnumbered the page because I had added a page to the script last week. So actually, I just finished 59. I'm working on 60 right now. So shh, don't tell anybody. So I'm actually at page, rather than what I've got, 61, 62, 63, 64. Yeah, I got 6 pages instead of 5 to go. I'm still planning on being done by the end of August, at least with the black and white stuff. Now the colorist is right behind me, just maybe 10 pages behind me. So it won't take a great deal of time, hopefully, for him to wrap up the comic and get it lettered, get it put together and off to the printer, proofread and all that kind of good stuff. So it will be going to the printer in September at some point. And so we can see very much a light at the end of the tunnel. In fact, we are in the tunnel. So if you haven't backed yet, really consider doing so soon, because before this is going to be gone before you know it. And a couple of things I want to point out also. I guess there is breaking news about this. I forgot because I haven't posted this yet. But let me get through the regular rigmarole, the regular sales pitch, if I might. Wraith of God, of course, this is the third graphic novel in a series of graphic novels. 65 pages, so you get one extra page for no extra cost, and 4 cover options. As you can see, they all sort of feature the Headless Horseman. That's because the Wraith and Esther go up against, you guessed it, the Headless Horseman. I'd love to show you what I'm working on right now. It's a big splash page, but of course, major spoilers, so I'm not really going to show it to you. You're going to actually have to read the book to actually see the page I'm working on right now. So we've got 4 cover options. This is the Marvel 1972 variant, which have become my favorite. And then, of course, Chris Stevens, who's kicking my butt in sales. His cover is selling the best because, well, it's a pretty outstanding painted cover. What are you going to do? So I'm very happy about that. Of course, you've all seen these color pages and tiers, but it just goes to show you the quality of the coloring inside this book by Jason Wright. I want you guys to be aware. I know most of you are, but get in on these shirts while you can. When I close this thing out, man, the shirts are going out like first, because I don't know how long it's going to take to turn them around. So they are heading out the door the day after this campaign closes. So that'll be it. So these are really, really cool shirts, especially if you're a headbanger and you go like going to heavy metal concert and you need a cool shirt to wear. Look at these, man. 50/50 cotton polyester blend. They're really nice shirts. If you haven't ordered shirts from me before, these are really nice shirts. Okay, so here's the stretch goals, and I'm blowing through those real quickly because they're going to come up again here. You can get the Wraith of God Wraith Nouveau print. There's only 500 of these, signed and numbered, and you can get it right here. Wraith of God Roughs Volume 3. This is 48 pages of layouts for the graphic novel. You can kind of like peel back the curtain, if you will, and see the process of me laying these pages out, what I kept, what I didn't. You can even see right here on this layout, this was my original cover layout that then became this. So I changed it. I moved, the horse is now facing left to right. I put the pumpkin over here. So I changed the whole thing because I felt it balanced better with the logo. But that's the kind of stuff you can see. It's like, well, okay. Don't barf. I'm spinning through this so fast. There it is. So anyway, you can see the changes I made from the original concept. You can get, the other thing about this is printed to order. So there's just enough extras to cover any damaged books, but you can't get these, like, they won't be on my website sitting around. So if you want one of these, you got to get it while the campaign is live, baby. The Nightclub. If you don't know what the Nightclub is, check out Wraith of God 2 Blood Hunters. There's a backup story in there, but this is one of my IPs. We're doing a series of shot glasses. This is number 4 in a series of 6. So you want to get that laser etched so it doesn't come off in the washing machine. You can get 3 poker chips. These are kind of cool. You got the Keown Werewolf, good old Esther, and then, of course, the Wraith himself. And you can get your back issues, too. Issues 1 and 2, if you missed them. These are also available on my website if you don't want to wait. But if you do want to wait and want to get them cheaper, this is the place to get them. All right. I just added some original art to the campaign. This original Garbage Man Collector's stamp art is now available in the perks over here. After you get past the t-shirts. There it is right there. $500. It's on 11 by 14. That's the actual artwork you will get. You can get the sculpture art from the original, from the trading card that comes as a stretch goal with this campaign. Of course, the card, of course, will be in color, but the original art's in black and white. And then also I put the trunk original artwork in there. That is right there for 400. And that's 11 by 14 as well. Then, of course, these are all the ones that have already sold. And you still have the Mr. Midnight original art available, as well as the Lord Menace original art for the trading card. That, of course, that was from the Kit Carter campaign. So anyway, that's, if you're interested in some original art, some groovy characters, there you go. That's the breaking news. The original art has been added to the campaign. So anyway, you'll find a link in the description of this video, take you right to the campaign, but not for long, only about 2 more weeks. So get in there and back this sucker if you haven't yet. Also, let me point out to you, if I may, that I do have a website, and it's a pretty cool one. I paid good money to have this put together for me. And there's a store where you can shop for items. Now, this is kind of misleading. You can, the hats and the t-shirts aren't actually available on the website. But I you know, it's a key-owned piece, so I had to put it on there. I should list, I do have some, only a few, like Kit Carter shirts left. And I think I have 1 Wraith of God shirt from the original run. I should put them up on there, but I put stuff up, you know, as I can. You can learn what's new with Empire Comics. You can look at my portfolio page. You can read my blog if I ever put anything on there, which I haven't yet, but I, you know, hope springs eternal. I like to go to the store because that's where I can convince you to spend money. If you go up here to the top, to the store bar right there, you can look at the prints. And look at this, I've added new prints. Space Hunt, which is, I believe, the very first incarnation of Kit Carter. When did I do that? Way back in 2010. That sounds about right. And so this is before she had a name. And so I still was messing around with the costume. I actually kind of like that black ribbing on the side rather than the blue ribbing that I ended up going with. I don't know. But anyway, so this is sort of a Kit Carter-esque kind of character. There's only a few of these. These are ones I sort of discovered in my flat files. This is, I love this one. It's simply called Wet Grass. And you've got this swamp creature, and they're menacing this young lady who's almost up to her waist in swamp water. Not really sure what her goal is, but it doesn't look like it's going to turn out well for her. And then, of course, this is a classic. Look up in the sky. Yeah. Pigs in the farmyard doing their superhero stuff. I really struggled to get an explanation of what this was, but it's humorous. It's fun. People love it. There's a few left, like 10 or something. So those are the new additions, along with all this other great stuff that's there. I also, if you go to the art for sale, go to the sketches page, I did add the Megan and MODOK piece from Greybeards. That was that is, of course, from Excalibur. Of course, we have the Mobius Iron Man, the Spider-Man that I did for Comicsgate Kings, but I didn't actually go on the show. And then, of course, a Man Thing, because you always got to have a Man Thing. I kind of like this Donkey Kong too. This is kind of fun. You got the girl in the bikini, and then you got like dead Mario down here. I think that's quality entertainment right there. So all sorts of good stuff in here. I don't know if I put any up. I don't think I put any new pages up yet. So I've got the Kit Carter stuff, the pages that are available for sale, and that's it. I'm not selling any other ones. And then there's some Justice League stuff. I've got way more Justice League stuff. I just have not got around to putting it up yet, but there is some there. So there's a lot of stuff to look at. Check it out. You'll find a link in the description of this video. Thank you for your attention to this matter. And let's move along. Anybody join us during the, there's Lord Hinson Comicsgator coming in late. Department of Comics. He says, Aaron, instead of Aaron Live, how about the lowdown with Lopresti? It's got a Ms. Marvel icon there. Not one I drew, though, so I'm a little offended, actually. But I do support it though. Let's see. I don't think they call themselves Headbangers anymore. How would I know? Squeaky's here. There's Darren Wagner. Aaron Lopresti. Did you do the EC comic style cover? I did indeed. All three of those covers are mine. And the fourth is Chris Stevens. The painted one's Chris Stevens, but the other three are mine. Talking about White Castle. Darren Wagner says, all those covers are excellent, Aaron. Thank you. Thank you very much. I just finished a cover. Well, I didn't finish. I finished penciling a cover for an indie comic. It looks as though I got some cover work, sort of. I don't even call it mainstream, but because it's not Marvel, DC, or Image, but it's a smaller company, but with characters you've heard of. I think they sent me a contract, but I've had the Conan people sent me a contract and never gave me any work. So I don't know until I actually have it, but trying to Geek Easy, who has that great vampire icon of Kiefer Sutherland from what was that movie called? The Bad Boys, the Night Boys, the Biting Boys, the Spooky Boys, whatever that vampire movie. So it doesn't surprise me you'd get the EC style cover. Jimmy Owen says, we miss Shelley. We will riot. Her back is killing her today, you guys. I'm sorry. She could return at any time, though. Pity Ma, Lost Boys. That's what it is. I knew it was something boys. I know it's like a big 80s movie. I never liked that movie. I guess there was too many little kids in it. And I was like, at that period of time, I was like, the Goonies drove me nuts. Just screaming kids for like 2 hours. And then the Lost Boys were like more screaming kids. And then actually Stand By Me was okay. They weren't really screaming a bunch in that movie. They were just talking. But anyway, there it is. Fright Night is, in fact, in my humble opinion, the best vampire movie ever made. I'm not a big vampire fan, but I loved Fright Night. And I do love Nosferatu, not the remake, but the very, very original silent version. I haven't seen the remake. Seems a little too... I don't know, dark something. I don't know. Didn't really appeal to me. But anyway, I do want to see what's his face looks like, Skarsgård looks like in that makeup, but I still haven't seen a picture anyplace. So anyway, I kind of liked the last voyage of the Demeter. The last voyage of the Demeter. Kind of woke, but not really badly. Didn't like not in your face woke, but there was some elements in there. You're kind of like, come on, man. But I like the vampire in it. Scary. When they make the vampire actually a monster, then I'm kind of on board. When he's just like a dude with fangs, I'm like, I don't care. But Fright Night, killer. Great, great movie. Sorry, but that honor belongs to a Polish vampire in Burbank. Not even heard of that. Geeky says, then you wouldn't like the original idea for the movie. He's talking about Lost Boys. It was to be Goonies with vampires. Young kids, hence the name, but they aged it up. Well, okay, yeah. They had teenagers who were vampires, but they still had young kids in there that were running around screaming. So, Corey Haim and the Coreys, were in that, I think, weren't they? And, but yeah. John Porton's here. Hey, John. Turner Inc. says Eddie Deason. Oh, he's talking to somebody else. The Voyage of the Demeter was pretty good for... Darren Wagner says The Voyage of the Demeter was pretty good for an alternate take. That movie bombed epically. And it had some real holes in the logic. Like I reviewed it on the show before, but I'll just briefly. When you got a vampire on the ship and he doesn't come out during the day, why are you not hunting him down during the day instead of just sitting around waiting for night to come and have him just like kill everybody? Was my problem with the movie. It was just silly. And there's ways they could have got around it, You know, because they had a crane on that ship. They could have hauled stuff out, you know, until they found his coffin and killed him. But, you know, he could have sabotaged the crane so it wouldn't work anymore. So they really couldn't get back at it. They didn't know exactly where it was. And, you know, I mean, they could have done things, but at least if they had addressed it instead of just going, well, somebody died last night. Let's just sit around, and when midnight rolls around, somebody else will die. Just that bugged me. But other than that, I kind of liked it. So there you go. There you go. Darren says the man bat like version of Dracula. Yeah, that was pretty cool. It was very cool. Issues with Aaron. That's pretty good. Issues with Aaron. I'll talk about all my issues, and I got plenty of them, folks. I got plenty of them. I'll tell you that right now. Okay. Let's do one of our many little vignettes. We call this "Who's This Guy?" Yeah, you know, last week I did the responsible thing because I was starting to pick illustrators that I'd already done before on this show. And I was like, why didn't I keep a list? So stupid of me. So I went back through all my videos, at least over 2 years worth of videos. And because I know I wasn't doing this from the very beginning of doing Aaron Live. I just started doing this in the last 2 years, apparently. And so I tried to find, and I may have missed one or two, but I could not find a Dean Cornwell episode. And I thought, how in the world did I not do a Dean Cornwell episode? And I may have done one and missed it, but if that's the case, it was over 2 years ago. So what the heck, we'll do it again. Let's see. This is true. I've been trying to get Mike Hill, who's the sculptor, creature design, Hollywood guy's amazing. And he designed the Frankenstein monster for Guillermo del Toro. And del Toro has told everybody that he's based, you know, a lot of the look of this movie on the Frankenstein illustrations that Wrightson did. And you can tell Dr. Frankenstein is exactly designed like Wright, you know, with the curly hair, and that it looks exactly like Wrightson, you know, drew him. So we're hoping that the monster is too, because that will be freaking awesome if it is. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that, but we still have to wait till like, is it October or November before that comes out, which actually I guess isn't that long now. Issues with it. I got to remember these suggestions you guys were giving me for names for the show. It was like issues with Aaron. What was the other one? Something with Lopresti. It was what was it? Whoever suggested the other name, put it up there again so I can. Where's Department of Comics? He's getting Frog Brothers. What is it? Has anyone watched Weapons yet? Great new movie. I have not seen it yet. It is playing at my local theater. I am tempted. Everybody's telling me it's really, really good. Wagner says he's more of a werewolf guy than a vampire guy. So am I. Eddie D's and drawing for fun and profit. Yeah, well, I've got the fun part down. Okay. You know, it's funny. Did you guys ever go see the Marvel exhibit at the it was a museum exhibit? They had the original art to this. They had a little corner for Kirby where they had his like desk and some artwork up on and display. And the original to this was on the wall. It's pretty cool. Low down with Lopresti. That's what it was. Okay. All right. Keep them coming. We'll come up with something here. Okay. What was I doing? Oh, yeah. Dean Cornwell, baby. Now, this guy was as classic gets. Oil painter. Again, very painterly, so you can really see the texture of the paint, which I just absolutely love. I love how he's using that light to highlight the girl, and I assume this is a pirate or something, trying to get jiggy with her. She's got a knife. These are all illustrations from, well, most of these they're either advertisements or they're illustrations from stories that would appear in magazines, right? And but they called Dean the Dean of Illustrators, so quite well thought of. Dean Cornwell, born March 5th, 1892, died 1960. So he was only 68 years old when he passed away. I find it interesting. I see so many of these illustrators we look at, and they lived like to be in their 90s. But then every once in a while, someone comes in and dies young. So he was an American illustrator and muralist. His oil paintings were frequently featured in popular magazines and books as literary illustrations, advertisements, and posters promoting the war effort. Throughout the first half of the 20th century, he was a dominant presence in American illustration. At his peak of popularity, he was nicknamed the Dean of Illustrators. There's much more to learn about Dean Cornwell, but let's take a look at some more of his work while we're doing it. I love in this piece, the sparse yet dramatic use of color right here. Look at that. It's practically grayscale. It is essentially. He's got brings a little bit of that orange from the leaves down here and down here to kind of balance it a little bit. This could have been an early magazine cover when they're only using like one color or two color. You see like the early Line Decker stuff on Saturday Evening Post where it was essentially black and white with one color. So that's probably what this was. But again, masterfully done. And that's what really painting is. If you can master the values, right? Doing a black and white painting. And then you go in and drop in your color after that. It's much easier. Cornwell was born in Louisville, Kentucky. His father, Charles Cornwell, was a civil engineer whose drawings of industrial subject fascinated Cornwell as a child. He began his professional career as a cartoonist for the Louisville Herald, Louisville, Kentucky. Soon after, he moved to Chicago, where everybody did, because that was where like the hub of commercial art was for some reason, at least education-wise, where he studied at the Art Institute. I would have loved to go to the Chicago Art Institute. I think it was still around when I would have, like in the early 80s, when I would have been going to, starting college, because I'm pretty sure that Alex Ross went there. And he's like the last, that when they were still teaching painting, traditional painting and stuff. In 1915, he moved to New Rochelle, New York, a well-known artist colony. And he studied in New York City under Harvey Dunn. We've looked at Harvey Dunn on this program, and the Art Students League of New York. Eventually, he traveled to London to study mural painting as an apprentice to Frank Brangwyn. Brangwyn's style influenced Cornwell's artistic development in rendering the human figure, bold outlines, flattened picture plane, and graphic approach to composition. All these guys, these serious guys, all went to Europe to study. I should have gone to Europe to study. Why didn't I go to Europe to study? Because I went to film school in LA instead. This is a nice one. I like this one because I like the color in it. Very much, what do you want to call it? Orientalist style approach here. I love that turquoise in there. So you got this lady with a fruit basket on her head looking at stuff, and then this dude back here looking at this big brass plate, and then this guy back here no doubt trying to sell it to him, and what a great deal he's getting. Tremendous illustration. And again, I'm sure it was to accompany a story or something printed in one of the many magazines that Cornwell, or that were available at that time, that he would have been working on. Cornwell married Mildred Kirkham in 1918, but married life was difficult. Wow, really? From 1935 until his death, Dean and Mildred lived separately. I guess that's rough when you can't even stay in the same house. Now they lived separately but never divorced. Cornwell taught and lectured at the Art Students League in New York. He served as president of the Society of Illustrators. I've never joined the Society of Illustrators. I had my opportunities, and I never did because I didn't want to pay the yearly fee because I could not figure out what the benefit was. And I still can't figure out what the benefit is other than just saying, hey, I belong to the Society of Illustrators. Okay. Cornwell's paintings were in Cosmopolitan, Harper's Bazaar, Red Book, and Good Housekeeping magazines, illustrating the work of authors including Pearl Buck, Lloyd Douglas, Edna Ferber, Ernest Hemingway, W. Somerset Maugham, and Owen Wister. That's some big names right there. Cornwell's February 1953 cover of a riverboat for True magazine was later made into a U.S. postage stamp as part of the USPS's 2001 American Illustrators series. Did I miss that? I don't really collect stamps, but if they do something, with really cool art on it, I'm kind of a guy who would buy those. Like Thomas Blackshear's Universal Monster stamps. Oh, baby. I'm going to have to go back and see if I can find those. Get a sheet of those famous illustrators stamps. This is a really nice one here. I don't know if this is Cleopatra and, Julius Caesar or what, but it kind of looks that way. I don't know. Let's get back to this. Although a prolific and successful magazine illustrator, Cornwell felt that such advertising was too ephemeral. Ooh, that's a big word. And that magazine illustration was not enough to guarantee his artistic immortality. Boy, have I got a commentary on that. And sought means to permanently showcase his talent through mural painting where his work could be readily viewed by the public. In 1927, the Los Angeles Public Library held a competition to paint the central rotunda of the building with murals depicting the history of California. Cornwell submitted 3 entries, 2 under pseudonyms and 1 under his real name, competing with 25 other muralists. Cornwell won the competition under his own name and won 2nd and 3rd with his 2 other entries. Wow. Okay, that's when you know you're good. So he was commissioned, and this is in 1933, he was commissioned $50,000 in 1933. Dude, that's got to be, I don't have someone have access to a inflation calculator and see what that's worth today from 1933 at $50,000 for 4 large oil paintings, 40 feet wide, and 8 20-foot murals containing over 300 figures. 50 grand. Whoa. I'll bet that's got to be like $300,000 now or something. That's good money. So the successful completion of the Los Angeles Public Library murals led to more commissions. I didn't realize Cornwell was like a major muralist. It's interesting. See, I learned something new every day. Now here's a nice Diet Coke ad that he did. Again, look at that bright orange. That's almost a Chinese red back there. A couple of army dudes and some jungle guy enjoying a Coke. There's nothing quite like it. $1,242,492.31. Holy smokes. Wow, I should have gone into mural painting. Are you kidding me? No, that's not commie red. That's Chinese orange. I'm not a big Elvis fan, I got to admit. I'm really not. Marcus Killer has Yogi Berra. Michael Bancroft saying probably Mark Antony. Okay, that was my next choice. But Julius Caesar was her first lover, then Mark Antony. So they stabbed Julius Caesar in the back. He went in and made some time as well. Let's see here. Randy Howell, $5 Canadian. Thank you, Randy. Says film school in LA. Aaron could be the Manchurian candidate. I am neither brainwashed or that easily controlled. So anyway, I love this one. I love the color in it. Color is often an overlooked importance in paintings. Because I don't do really bright, vibrant colors usually. I usually do more subdued stuff, and I really like bright, vibrant colors. Look at this. This is some pencil work. How about that? Look at the horse back here. It's a nice horse. This guy's face is great. His posture, so realistic. I mean, I'm sure he had models, but still, that face is very stylized, very kind of like, like Leyendecker-ish, right? And they were pretty much contemporaries. So it's interesting if there was kind of a school of thought or stylization that maybe they both drew from and had kind of similar looks there. There used to be a booth at San Diego that they're not there anymore, but they had original art from illustrators, and they would have stuff like this, pencil drawings, prelims of like really, really great artists, like Leyendecker and Cornwell and things like that. I never bought anything because I'm cheap, but that's one of those things I wish I had. This I think is really cool. This is obviously, well, actually, I think this is calendar art. But look at that. Obviously during the war, but look at the thickness, the power in those flags, and the energy here of these tanks. And you've got this train zipping by and the guy on this tractor. This is really, really cool. Really dynamic and powerful imagery there. Let's see here. What do we got here? By the time the U.S. entered World War II, Cornwell was commissioned to create paintings of men in combat by the War and Navy departments and by corporations like Fisher Body Company. Cornwell also painted patriotic imagery for the Coca-Cola Company, for the Pennsylvania Railroad, and did portraiture of wounded GIs as part of the USO entertainment program organized by the Society of Illustrators. It was during World War II that Cornwell was commissioned to illustrate two of his most successful works, The American Weekly for Dean Cornwell Paints the Holy Land, interesting, and Dean Cornwell Paints the Missions. After World War II, television became the more popular medium, and people more or less inclined to read short fiction from magazines, and heralded the end of the celebrity illustrator. Throughout the 1930s and 40s, Cornwell remained the popular illustrator, but he considered mural painting his true vocation. How about that? Shortly before his death, Cornwell accepted a commission to finish painting a mural for the Berkshire Life Insurance Company. After the original commissioned artist, fellow illustrator Norman Rockwell, had trouble with the complexity of the medium. Really? Oh, because he's painting a mural and not, okay. It was also Rockwell's first attempt at mural painting, and he abandoned the project. Cornwell died before completing the mural, and his assistant, Cliff Young, finished the project. Artist and illustrator James Montgomery Flagg, who we've also covered on this show, wrote, Cornwell is the illustrator par excellence. His work is approached by few and overtopped by none. He is the most sought-after illustrator of the day. His secret is this. He is born an artist, or he is a born artist. Cornwell continued to work until his failing health. On December 3rd, 1960, Cornwell experienced severe abdominal pains, was admitted to Roosevelt Hospital in New York City for surgery, but died due to a heart ailment on December 4th, 1960. He was 68 years old. And there you have it. That is the life and times of the great Dean Cornwell, but we still have a couple more pieces I want to look at. This is another magazine illustration, no doubt. Look at this. Again, this sort of painterly, just the heaviness and the like, you can feel the weight of this fabric, and it feels like everybody was wearing wool, which they probably were. Great faces, great lighting. I'm not really sure why they're all huddled around this kitchen table with guns and knives. I don't know if they're expecting, you know, again, you'd have to know the story, I suppose, that he's illustrating, but kind of like, exactly what are they waiting for? What's this guy looking at? What's this guy looking at? But anyway, tremendous piece of artwork. Great construction, great design, layout. This is looking very line decoration here. Interesting. I wonder, because he was definitely older than line decor. I think, well, I shouldn't say that. I can't remember exactly. But I'm kind of curious on who influenced who, or if maybe there was a outside influence that influenced both of them. He did a lot of vignettes. This is the only one I'm showing, but these had to be from magazine illustrations or illustrations for magazine stories. I love this sort of bold pink pajamas he put this dude in. Look at this guy's head. Man, if you got a head like that, you do not want to lose your hair. See, mine is nice and round. That's flat, like someone dropped an anvil on it, but I love it because it has character. And again, look at the rough painterly strokes here. Just tremendous. And then one last one. This is like one of my faves. This is also from a calendar, World War II calendar. Look at that. Uncle Sam, the industrial complex marching forward to defeat the Axis. You got the train. This is probably, as we read in the bio, that he did artwork for certain railway. My guess, I know this is a piece for a calendar as well. So my guess is this was a train company that produced these calendar images. They always had a train in them, but they also had these great war images. Again, this is just like really, really cool stuff. Good old Uncle Sam. Love old Uncle Sam, except when he takes my tax money. Anyway, the Dean of Illustrators, Dean Cornwell. How about that? Okay, so I'm gonna go on my soapbox just for a minute here, because there was something that they quoted Cornwell here as saying, and it's kind of a temptation. Where was it that he said that? Here, yeah. He said that magazine illustration was not enough to guarantee his artistic immortality, and sought means to permanently showcase his talent through mural painting, where his work could be readily viewed by the public. So he was very much concerned about his legacy as an artist. I watched the documentary on Dave Stevens a few nights ago, and I found it, I don't know if depressing is maybe too harsh of a word, but was sad for a couple of reasons. One, you know, of course, it covered his career, but then also covered him when he passed away at the, you know, early at the age of 53 because of leukemia. And it was kind of, they had shots of him like autographing at his booth in San Diego. And I was sitting right next to him. I mean, I wasn't in the picture or anything, but it brought back this memory. It's like, oh my gosh, I was sitting right there, right next to him. And apparently struggled with leukemia for 9 years. And so he only let a handful of people, close friends, know that he was sick, and no one else knew. In fact, before he passed away, he didn't show up one year. And I asked Bill Stout, I said, Bill, where's Dave this year? And Bill knew that he was dying of cancer, but he was not allowed to say anything. So he just kind of said, oh, you know, Dave, he's kind of flighty. He kind of made up this whole story about why he wasn't there. And so he was a very private guy, but I sat there and in a very selfish way, I sat there and I thought, you know, this guy passed away and they're making he was so respected, his artistic achievements within the comic book sphere, right? Were so respected. They made a documentary on him. And then you start thinking as an artist, you're like, well, what am I leaving? What mark have I made that anybody's going to care about? You know, you start thinking about that. Then it gets depressing, right? You're like, I always wanted to be, you know, Arthur Adams or somebody like that, you know, and so, and I think that's a wrong motivation, right? I think it's you obviously everybody wants the respect of their peers, and you would like fan support as well, because that's what, you know, either makes you or breaks you ultimately. But I think if I had to choose one of the two, I'd rather be respected by my peers, you know, and you're never really sure. I mean, everybody's nice to me, right? But I don't know if they really think of my artwork. So you sit there and you get a kind of a little depressed, and I felt bad for Dave, and then I kind of felt bad for me. And I was like, snap out of it, man. So that leads me into this next thing, which I will continue this thought here. But we have to dig deep into my flat files for me to finish this little soapbox I'm on. So as the story goes, when everybody got fired, Henry Jeremick, that is absolutely correct. But see, we can't all be Jack Kirby, and we can't all be Frank Frazetta, because Frazetta not only was exceptionally talented, but he was also in the right place at the right time and did stuff that no one else had done up to that point. And now we're all sort of like influenced by him. So we're not like necessarily bringing anything new to the table like he was. And so there are opportunities. You know, Frank Miller jumped in and did stuff that people are like, whoa, what's he doing? So there are opportunities to do that. My biggest problem, and I've said this before, is I'm too much of a conventional thinker. I don't think outside the box. And to be someone that does something memorable, you got to think outside the box. You got to bring something different to the table. And I'm kind of a slave to traditionalists or traditionalism. And so, you know, anyway. So as the story goes, I was working at DC. Everything was going good for, I don't know, 10 years, 12 years, whatever it was. And then Dan DiDio gets fired, right? AT&T starts cleaning house. Mark Chiarello's let go. And then I think, oh my gosh, I'm in big trouble now. But I was able to pick up some Justice League stuff. And then that September, which I believe was 2019, we were right in the middle of COVID, I'm pretty sure. And AT&T, who owned Warner Brothers at the time, came in and cleaned house, got rid of everybody. And there was suddenly, I didn't know anybody. And the people I reached out to were just like blowing me off. Like no one would give me any work. And I was like, do I really suck that bad? So I went back and I looked at like the last couple jobs I did for DC. Here's a double page spread from the Justice League issues I did with a naked dude on the floor. But now I did not overdo do the anatomy, like, you know, like just the ripped abs and all that kind of stuff. I kind of was going, well, what would these guys look like if they actually had suits on? Would you really be able to see their, you know, abs and all that kind of stuff? So I was playing around with stuff, but I'm looking at this, and granted, it's inked by Matt Ryan, who's terrific. But I look at this and I think, you know, this is pretty good. It sounds like Dan Lawless, but it is. It's pretty good. And so I was looking at it, and so then you start to look back and you think, you know what? I don't feel quite as bad as I did at the time. And so you start thinking, okay, well, why wouldn't, and this is before anybody knew I voted for Trump, right? So it's like, or that I was friends with Ethan or anything like that, right? So here's that. I don't know who this, you guys that are like bigger comic fans would know who this evil Superman character is. But he's fighting Superman here. And again, this is a pretty good splash page, I think. And again, terrific inks by Matt Ryan. Like, well, what was I doing? Was I trying to do anything interesting, you know? And like this panel right here, this reason I'm showing you this page here is this panel right here with that lighting effect on it. It turned out pretty well. That looks pretty cool. And so then I was looking at this stuff and saying, okay, now there's a couple things. One is what people's perception of you are within the industry. In other words, do they perceive you as a hot artist or not? You know, and I was never perceived that way. So that was kind of an uphill battle, right? So then maybe you do something really, really cool and people don't see it the same way maybe that they would if you were, you know, had somehow worked your way into a name position. Okay. So there's a lot of people that are like that did, you know, really nice work, but no one really noticed. I think this is a pretty good page too. So you got Batman getting like surrounded by the vine. This is like some sort of mystic chick. What's her name? Kaluta did Madame Xanadu. No, is that what the heck was her name? I can't remember. But anyway, so I was like, oh, Batman's face, that looks pretty good. Oh, her face looks pretty good. You know, the detail and stuff in there. This is pretty good. It's a nice angle. It's dynamic. And so it's nice actually, because when you draw this stuff, most of the time, at least with me, I would go, God, this sucks. But it's nice to go back and revisit it with some fresh eyes and like it, as opposed to going, boy, this really did suck. You'd have to go like way farther, and then I will show you all the stuff that I think sucks. But we're not here to talk about suckage. We're here to talk about I'm better than I remember, gosh darn it. Here's a commission I did for this dude in Australia, of all places. That was a lot of work. But it was Justice League, so I figured, we'll show it. But I do think it comes down to a couple of things. Are you able to get on good projects, which I never was able to? That helps a ton. Wonder Woman was a good project, but the thing about Wonder Woman is she's very popular, but nobody read the book. It was not, there was some hardcore, it was like Legion. People that read Legion are hardcore Legion fans, but they're not a big number. And the same with Wonder Woman. Even though she's a very well-known character, not necessarily a popular book. And I was hired originally, DC, to do Power Girl. And I, in retrospect, should have done that instead of Wonder Woman. But I got talked into Wonder Woman because she was one of the big three. And I think I would have got more eyeballs on my stuff as Power Girl artist. Because Power Girl way outsold Wonder Woman when we were on Wonder Woman. So, but I do think it comes down to you can't really judge. Well, I guess my point of all this is you can't really judge the value of your career based on, how popular you are, because there's so many factors that maybe you can't control. Like I said, what book did you work on? Were you able to work with a really good writer that got a lot of eyeballs on it? Or was it, a crappy script? Or, were you able to jump into the industry with a bang? Or did you suck really bad like I did when I got in? And then so people sort of viewed me as a sucky artist. And then after I got good, it was like, that's still that sucky Lopresti guy. So those are hard things to control. But so I do have those moments where I do regret going, dang it, I wish I'd had a bigger impact in the industry. But then I think, you know what? I should be just thankful that I was actually able to make a living doing it, and still making a living doing it, and quit being such a baby. So anyway, what does that all mean? I don't know. But I just thought that I look back on, the last few jobs I did for DC, and I thought they turned out pretty well. And, the heck with them for not calling me back. It led me here, and here I am. Nicholas Gear for $2. Thank you, Nicholas. Do you still own the art for that Shield cover? Yes, I do. And it's not for sale, at least at this point. If I get, get to a point where I need to pay bills, I got a large collection of art that I'd saved for a rainy day, and we'll see. You should look at, I know. The guy was Marston was his name. He was a psychologist, and he was a freaking weirdo. Aaron, did you find the original Bullseye yet? I think he was originally a cowboy hero by Simon & Kirby. He never misses was his tagline. It's interesting you should bring that up. Talk amongst yourself for a second, will you? Did I ever find the original Bullseye? Of course I did. Bullseye #1. And I know you're referring back to the origin of Bullseye in Daredevil 131, which I showed last week. The problem is this is not a Marvel character, so I don't know why they would classify Bullseye at Marvel as the new Bullseye. But maybe that's they are referencing this. But yeah, Kirby cover right there. Bullseye Western Scout. He never misses, folks. Finally found, you don't see these come up very often. I found one a couple of years ago at San Diego, and I picked it up. What did I pay? $425. I think I got it for $400. So, and I don't even know. It's so hard to count these books that never go up for sale. You never know what they're really worth because you don't have enough sales data to determine it. So it just comes down to what you're willing to pay for it. And I was willing to pay $400 for Bullseye #1 in, I don't know, fine minus, I think. But it's in nice shape, for a 1953, 54 book. So there you go. There's Bullseye #1. Spaceman says, I love your work, Aaron. Thank you, Spaceman. I appreciate that. More Habit, of course, referring to Power Girl, the power of the boob window, of course. Marcus Killigrew, you're right. Wonder Woman never really sells. She never has, and she never will. But she's a major character, so maybe she should just stay in Justice League. Matthew Muma, the Eradicator. That's who it was. Yes, that Superman dude's the Eradicator. So, a lot of guys got it. John Durham says, don't worry, you still have 2 good years left in you. I brought this up before, man. Mark Schultz is so worried that when you hit 70, you start to lose your skills. So he was trying to get another Xenozoic Tales masterpiece out before he turned 70. I just talked to one of my friends who's a really big-time art collector and knows Mark really well. I mean, I know Mark well, but I haven't talked to him in quite some time because I haven't seen him around the convention circuit because, quite frankly, I haven't been around the convention circuit all that much. But anyway, apparently he has turned 70. So he better hurry up and finish that Xenozoic Tales. Geek Easy says, I've met you, Aaron. You are very nice, and I dug your art. Dog your art, but I think he meant dug your art. Thank you very much. I wasn't saying all this, to kind of like, oh, feel sorry for me or whatever. It's just an observation that, as an artist, you have those moments where you're like, just as Dean Cornwell is like, I need to do something else that he's going to cement my legacy that people remember me by. And the funny thing is, with Dave Stevens, he's a legend within the comic book bubble that we all exist in. You go outside that, though, no one's ever heard of him. In fact, most people haven't heard of Frazetta, which is remarkable to me, but it's true. I mean, a lot more people have because of Hollywood and things like that. And of course, Dave Stevens was known in Hollywood as well. But it is interesting when you get like Charles Schultz. Everybody did. I'm just younger generation probably doesn't, but because it was a newspaper strip that everybody read and everybody was exposed to. So and there's a lot of people I'm sure they don't know who Dean Cornwell was or care or anything like that. But, for those of us that know, but it is kind of how important is really leaving a legacy to something like that? Because let's face it, when you're gone, you're gone. You're not worrying about what's going on down here. Hopefully you're in a better place. And, but it is interesting, the things that go through our heads. Anyway. Now, this is, maybe your legacy isn't meant to be an art. Perhaps your calling is to expose the world to the truth of Bigfoot. You might be onto something right there. Chris H says, I loved Garbage Man graphic novel. Thank you, sir. Hope there's another story in the future. There is. It all comes down to, for me, and talking about publishing, it's like, what do you do next? How do you space this stuff out so you get everything in you want to get in, but still make sure you don't forget about the stuff that people dig, right? And so I've got some ideas, and I do know what my next project's going to be, but I'm not going to announce it until I'm finished with Wraith of God, and that's, at the printers. Then I will make an announcement about that. Randy Hall, you are correct. Either way, Aaron is bound for glory, baby. Write this down. Aaron's burnout corner. And then Aaron's imaginary emporium. That's kind of good. A lot of big words in there. Imaginary emporium. Maybe rebranding is in the future. Those are some pretty good names. If I did Near Mint Aaron, then it would just be about specifically comic collecting, and I don't want to narrow it that far. Aaron's Strange and Probably False Tales. That's good too. Planet Hulk was my favorite stuff that you did, Aaron. Thank you, Henry. Appreciate that. All right. So now that we've looked at Dean Cornwell's stuff, we've looked at my stuff. It's time to bring up the covers again. And this week, we're going to take a look at Mike Kaluta's work. It's good for you. It was on sale too. Let me say this about Kaluta. I wouldn't say I'm not a fan, but I wouldn't say I was a big fan. Kaluta is very hit or miss for me. It really depends on, well, I guess you could say this about anybody, but his composition in terms of cover art, and does the subject matter fit what he's doing? He has a very wispy style. So sometimes he would draw stuff and you kind of go, that doesn't really fit. But then other times he draws stuff and you go, that's perfect. So I did find more covers of his that I liked than I originally anticipated doing. So I guess that's a positive thing. Well, let's take a look at the one that we used as the thumbnail. And again, these are not in any order, and your mileage may differ. Detective Comics, $4.26. Now only 20 cents. Oh. I find this cover interesting because you've basically got Batman holding a gun to his head to Robin, Batgirl, and Superman. I'm glad he included Superman. Nobody else. Robin, Batman, and Superman. And all those near and dear to me. Oh, yeah. Isn't it like Gilligan's Island, where they said a movie star and the rest are here on Gilligan's Island? So it's like they're not important enough to mention, but anyway, shortly I will take gun in hand and put an end to what has become a meaningless life, a life without honor. Wow, heavy. You know, I'm just going to go out there on a limb. I don't think that he actually killed himself in this issue. But you know what's good about this? His hands. The face is, figure work is, okay. But the hands are exceptional. And we all know, those of us who draw know, hands are very difficult. So I give him props for this. And this is just one of those covers that's really sort of has serious shock value to it. And so it's very simple, but yet it's very memorable, I think. Now he did several Batman family covers. This is my favorite. And the reason why is I just think the faces on this are incredibly good. And since the entire cover is faces, then that, carries a lot of weight. I think that Batgirl face is very, very unique and interesting looking. Theoretically, this eye right here should be scooched over this way a little bit more, but, whatever. That's a great Batman face. The Huntress I like Man Bat. I really like this cover just because I like all the headshots. I think they're all really, really good and really interesting looking. And, it just worked well for him on this. It all came together right here. I'm never quite sure when I draw Batman from the side. I always put his ears way back at the back of his head rather than right in the middle like a lot of people do, because it looks kind of weird from the side when the ears are right in the middle. But if you have them back here, they look better, in my opinion. Yeah, apparently Man-Bat was adopted into the family, but in reality, the Batman family, of course, referred to any Batman-related character. I believe in these Batman families were early Michael Golden Man-Bat stories. So just throwing that out there. I don't actually own this issue. I've been looking for a nice high-grade copy at a decent price, which I haven't been able to find, but I'll keep looking. Eventually it'll turn up. But I do like that one a lot, actually. Now, this is interesting. This is the original artwork, the black and white artwork to this cover. But I thought it'd be kind of interesting to kind of look at the pen work on here. But you see what I'm saying? His line work is very light and wispy. And you don't want him drawing superheroes because it's just, this stuff is just not powerful enough. It's interesting, though. But I don't know if this is a zombie or a guy that, I'm not sure exactly. It's apparently Augustus Howard. You got his handprints here, so he must have crawled up the This is the ghost of Augustus Howard, perhaps. But anyway, this House of Mystery cover. I love the paste up. There's a certain sort of pretty boyness even to this zombie. It's a very, I'm not really sure who to compare his stuff to. Like who was the illustrator who did Slumber, Little Nemo in Slumberland? Who was that? Because this is what his style, him and oh my gosh, I don't deserve to have a show because I can't remember anybody's freaking name. Winsor McCay, thank you. Okay, so Victor Shade is saying, great Michael Golden. Yes, Michael Golden, I have a well-read copy of it, okay. And then Winsor McCay, that's who I was looking at. Charles Vess is the name I was trying to think of. Also has a very similar approach, a Winsor McCay's approach, kind of like Kaluta does. All right, now this I love and hate at the same time. Now this, granted, this was not originally a cover. This was a print, a painting. And it appears to be that we've got an inked drawing with watercolor. It's definitely what it is, or maybe dyes. But the problem with this illustration, and I like it because it's more dynamic and more action-oriented than a lot of Kaluta's stuff, but I like this one because of that. You know, you can see the Conan, the snake sort of gets lost because he doesn't punch, he needs to punch up that color on the snake. It's the same color as the background. And the same value as the background. So the snake kind of gets lost. And then the thing that gets lost even more is this girl in here. I mean, you can kind of see her right here, but if we had the snake separated from the background, then this girl, if this color wasn't so muted, if this was a little more darker, this would pop more. And then she completely gets lost up in this brass shield up here. And that happens a lot with Kaluta's stuff, is he doesn't, I shouldn't be criticizing Kaluta because who am I to criticize Kaluta? But they'll be doing a documentary on him when he passes away. So, but one of the things that bug me sometimes about his illustration work is he doesn't do a good enough job of separating his foreground, background, and midground elements sometimes. And this is one of those examples, even though it's a great concept and illustration, I love it. But color-wise, I think it could have been, could have helped himself. This just might be, well, okay, I'm not going to say that. I'll say this is probably one of his top 5 covers right here. For me, because what has it got? Strong central image, nothing else. And it's a spooky image, and not exactly sure why he's holding that corn cob where he's holding it. But other than that, this is, you know, that red eye right there in the middle. This is a killer cover that you would, you know, if you were a horror reader, you'd pick this up in a second. I mean, if I was a kid, I would have picked this up in a second. Possibly, but I've seen multiple printings of that print. I've seen the print, and I've seen from several different publications. So I still think it's a color issue. I just think this is a really great, yeah. And the corn cob, the corn is actually little skulls. I just think it's a really, really cool cover. And again, I am a guy that I really think strong central images where you can focus on one thing and it's powerful and strong, that's going to sell your cover. And that's what he's doing right here. This is more of a really nice, unique, interesting composition. And this he did, I believe, in the 90s, or was it 2000? No, 2017, it looks like. So a more of a modern cover for Dynamite. I love the kind of feeling that that crooked almost feels like for a second that the building is falling over, but how he's able to isolate the shadow in this clear open space here. And then you got a very busy background that takes you a couple of seconds to sort of differentiate what's going on in here. But here he's got this solid black wall, very nice. And then the shadow bursting out the window here into this gray area. And the red does a really nice job of keeping your focus right in here. A little bit of red here to draw your eye to the shadow. I like this one a lot, actually. I think he did a really nice job on this. And I'm only putting one of these in here because I love this series. Most of you guys probably haven't even heard of this. This was in 1972. 72 and 73, I think. Or 71, 72, probably 70. No, it was 72, 73. And this was all Edgar Rice Burroughs stories. So they had like a Carson of Venus, John Carter of Mars, Pellucidar, which is this cover here, is David Innes finds his beloved in the clutches of a beast. He did 3 or 4 covers. I like all of them. I just picked this one because it had the big pterosaur on it. But this is the kind of stuff that I'm more comfortable seeing him do. More fantasy type stuff. I think it suits his line quality. Again, big central focused image, not a lot going on in the background, so you don't get lost in it. I really dig the composition of this one. The shadow's shoulders are kind of hunched and tiny. I don't know if that's just, I don't know. But I actually own this in near mint, of course. And I just think it's, they probably did this crossover because Kaluta was working on the shadow at the time. This would have been 1972, 73 as well. The composition is pretty basic in the sense that your vanishing point is, right here in the center of the page. And then you got the trains coming out like this to establish your perspective lines. But I like the shadow creeping up over the Batman logo, this might be my favorite Batman logo. I like that Batman logo a lot. And then you got sort of Batman sort of cowering a bit here in the foreground, which is kind of unusual. All right, this is really cool. This has some serious visual impact. This is another one of his shadow covers. You got a lot of stuff going on here that works pretty well. Now, it is interesting that he chose to do a big circle behind the shadow as well as the moon behind these guys. That doesn't make much sense to me. I think what I would have done was just, rather than have it black around the edges here, I would have cut the shadow off here, and then I would have made this whole background orange like that. Or rather than have this be a circle, have like his cape flying up here, making this black up here, And then, so it's not a moon, because you got a moon and a moon, which doesn't really make sense. But aside from that, I love the shading on the shadow's face. You've got your mid-ground people, then you got a nice foreground element here. One of the things I criticized him earlier for, he's doing really well here, is establishing nice foreground, mid-ground, and background elements. Even though the background element of the shadow is the strongest, that's what you see first, but it is the shadow's book. So this almost works in reverse. You see the background element, then you drop down to the mid-ground and then to the foreground, rather than normally use foreground, mid-ground, background. So it works really, really well. Paul Taylor, a resident biologist, showing up saying there is no good rhyme for orange. That is true. I tried it myself. Here we go. This is the last issue of House of Mystery. And I really like this. He's got his suitcases packed. Windows are boarded up. It's amazing that the House of Mystery went from, like, I mean, when it became a horror title, like in 1968, 67-ish, it became a horror title and lasted all the way to the 60-cent days, which would have put us mid to late 80s, wouldn't it have? So I remember when this issue came out, and I don't know why I didn't buy it, because I did like the cover, but I didn't. I still don't own it. I should pick this up. It should be in my collection, don't you think? But this is a very cool drawing of Kane, and he's got a little dragon, but a couple of little dragon buddies back here. The house, the whole thing. I like it. The Batman bat symbol for sale sign. That's good. Now this is probably his best cover. If you had to pick one, I suppose this would be it. This is a great freaking cover. Nope, sorry. Excuse me. I didn't have my dog going wild at least once on a Sunday. What's the point of even doing the show? This is particularly interesting because it has sort of a craft tint look to it. You're kind of like, what's going on here? What he did was a grayscale underneath this, and I've got the black and white. I'll show you in just a second, and then colored over the top. So essentially, you get this feeling. It almost looks like a painted cover. So let's take a look at the black and white, which is interesting. Oh crap! You got to be kidding me. That's as small as that is. Now let's see. This may not show very well. I didn't realize it was this small. Yeah, sorry, you can't see it all that great, but you can see the ink wash he did on the coat here. And then there's some gray on his face back here, and then the scarf. And then they colored over the top of this. So this was apparently up for sale at auction, in the Heritage auction. I don't know what it sold for, but I guess I should look it up because I'm very curious. Yeah, you can see the shadow right here on the scarf. And then the rest of this is just red, but this would be kind of like what guys were doing ink washing on like Savage Tales and Savage sort of Conan with black and white magazines. They would go in and give you a little bit more by doing ink wash in there to kind of to establish some tonal values. And, it's got that great curved perspective of the train coming at you, which is not easy. And this is a really, really well done cover. And it's funny because Wrightson was supposed to be the shadow artist. And, but he was working on Swamp Thing at the time. And I don't know why he thought he could do both, but he somehow convinced himself he could do both. And then realized he couldn't do both. And then, so this job went to Kaluta. And there are a couple pages in like issue number 3, I think, where Wrightson helped him out to finish some pages. But I know I've shown that Wrightson ad, the shadow ad for the shadow series that Wrightson did. It's fantastic, but end up being Kaluta, who did a fine job on it. So I'm not going to, cry about it too much. All right. This has been a very, very, Hellraiser. I did zoom in on it, but it breaks up. It's just, it's a really low grade. I think I took the, thumbnail instead of actually going to the source. Let me see if I can find it again. Okay, here we go. Okay, that's better. There we go. All right. So you can see the ink wash he did in here, and here, and around here, and even how light it is here. There isn't any real solid blacks on any of this, like maybe his eyebrow and that little bit right there. Even this is kind of charcoal. If you look at how black the city is, and this is a great example of, I admire guys that do this. Mignola is another guy who does this. He didn't use, actually, this looks pasted up, cut out and pasted up. It does this. So he did a ink wash of the shadow, and then this was on a separate piece of paper, this train and the city and everything, and he cut it out and pasted it on this. Interesting. Yeah, you can see right around here, the extra paper right there. So he cut this out. And up here you can see it as well. So he cut that and statted it over. Probably took a stat of it. And although if it was statted, we wouldn't get gray right in here, I don't think. So this might be the original art he did on another piece of paper. Cut it out with an X-Acto or whatever, then glued it on over the top of the shadow. Very interesting. But this, as you can see, these are solid black line areas here, where this is all ink wash through here. Very interesting. And then the point I was going to make was none of these are ruled lines. This is all hand drawn, right? So he probably worked out his perspective grid, and then he just, and the thing when you do that and you don't use a ruler to get these really perfect straight edges, it has a more natural, organic feel to it, obviously. But when all the lines are perfect, it ends up looking like a coloring book. And I discovered that, why do all my backgrounds, because I would line in everything. Why do all my backgrounds look like they're coloring books? And so I finally had Matt Ryan, when he inked my backgrounds, freehand them. I said, I'm going to go in there with a ruler and do everything perfectly, but I want you to freehand those lines when you're inking them. And it gave more energy to the backgrounds. They didn't go flat and become like these stilted coloring book backgrounds. They actually had some feel and life to them. And that's what we see right here. Paul Taylor, Canadian, $10. Thank you, Paul. He says, the Batman Shadow team up I had was Batman 259. It was one of those giant-sized issues. I guess DC had the license for the Shadow for a while. That is true. I remember it because a gun went off and Batman froze. So you're saying Batman's a coward? No, I know exactly what you're talking about. And you are correct. So anyway, we'll say unofficially this is his greatest comic book cover. I'm guessing. What do you guys think? $50,000, or do you think it went more than that? Could this have hit 100 grand? Now I almost want to check. In fact, I do want to check. Let me check. Okay. They always want me to sign in, like they don't trust me. Okay, here we go. We're going to go Kaluta Shadow. Wow. Really? All right. I'll share this with you guys because I know you desperately want to see it. Oops. Wait a minute. Oh, duh. Sorry. Hang on a second. All righty. Here we go. So let's see. So this painting here, it's an oil painting, went for $63,000 back in 2024. So not that long ago. This is a pretty famous one. I think this was just a print. I don't think this was a cover. That went for $19,000 in 2016. So it went for way more than that. Here's Kaluta inked by Wrightson. For about 12 grand back when? 2017. So that was a while ago. So you can probably double those prices right now. Let's see. Where is that cover at? There's actually quite a few interior pages that have floated around here. Look at that. Let's get a little more specific here. All right. Come on. All these worthless issues of now this one went for 24 grand. That's not bad. Oh, the Avenger. How about that? Remember that character? All these comics, man. There's a lot of those. I got probably a 9.6 sitting over there. It's not graded, but it's only $100 book. Why would you grade a book that's only worth $100? It costs you that much to grade it. All right, we're not going to get the. There's Madame Xanadu from Doorway to the Nightmare #1. I almost picked this cover, but I didn't. Kind of looks like Liza Minnelli, doesn't it? It's an interesting cover. 20 grand for that. So Kaluta doesn't fetch same money that someone like Wrightson would, but it's still pretty good. If I get 20,000 for one of my covers, I would faint. So, all right. Well, we tried. I don't know. Someone else that's maybe a little bit more diligent and they're searching might come up with a number for that cover at Heritage. All right. Well, this has been fun, but it really gets fun. All new Bigfoot material. I call this one Backpack Bigfoot. I think you can probably figure out why. Let's take a look. A couple of dogs. All right, there he is. 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 Okay. 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 Well, I'll just look, and then we'll comment here in a second. So wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Is this the long shot? Hang on a second. Let me go back with the dog. Okay. So there's the right there. Okay. There is your alleged Bigfoot sighting. Now you tell me, is this not just a guy in a stocking cap and a coat with a backpack on, which you can see right there? That's what it looks like to me. He's got a stocking cap on and a backpack and a coat, and they're trying to convince us that this is Bigfoot. Look at that. That is a guy in a coat with either his hood up on his coat, giving him the pointy head, or a stocking cap, and he's got a backpack on. Oh my gosh. Do these people, seriously, do these cryptozoologists, now I'm a cryptozoologist, so I just, I'm not making fun of myself, but other cryptozoologists, do they really think we're all that stupid? This annoys me because this is clearly a dude walking on a trail with his backpack and stocking cap, and they're trying to gaslight us and tell us what we're seeing is Bigfoot, which is just, come on, man, to quote Joe Biden there. But this is what they're offering up these days. I gotta show you what I got. And this is okay. Yes, an action figure, right? Backpack Bigfoot, new from Mattel. I love it. Wouldn't the dog go crazy and chase after Bigfoot? Well, my dog would go crazy and chase after the guy in the backpack. So I don't know if that proves anything. Bigfoot is out looking for Kelsey as we speak. Wouldn't that be something? So you have a Bigfoot doing a video show searching for Kelsey. So Kelsey is more elusive than Bigfoot is. I mean, if you got like this, like any crazy protester, easy to find, right? They're up here at the top. Then you get down a little lower. Someone like me, I kind of let you know where I live, but not really. So you have to work a little bit to find me. Then you get down to like rare animals that, like the giant squid is really hard to find, but you can still find them. But then you get down to like Bigfoot, who apparently is almost impossible to find because no one has. And then Kelsey, because at least Bigfoot, we get videos every once in a while. They say, well, that might be him. That could be him. We've seen nothing or heard nothing from Kelsey for like a year. And I keep hoping one day that he'll come back to us. Kelsey, if you're out there, come back to us. Paul Taylor says the favorite food of the sperm whale is the giant squid. Indeed, I knew that. That's why they find these these whales with like tentacle marks, these giant tentacle marks on them, and you're like, giant squid, baby, right there. Oh, did you guys see that there's a new movie called Kraken? Seen the trailer for that? I think we should look at it. I'll look it up real quick here. Yeah. All right, here we go. Why do I have to listen to ads? Is everybody always doing ads? Okay, hang on a second here. Okay. There's two movies I want to see, and I'm sure they're horrible. But one of them is this one, just because Anything with a giant octopus in it, I want to see. Okay, here we go. Okay, let's get to the good stuff. Here we go. You mean this, baby? Crabs are getting out of the water. Oh, yeah. Oh, look at that tentacle. Did you scream underwater? This is the Kraken. Look at that. Yeah, that's it. Giant squid, man. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, I was going to go full screen, and then I lost control of the thing because I had to cut the sound because I didn't want to get. But anyway, so go. If you want the full effect, go look that up. It's just Kraken trailer. It's not much, but there's a few octopus arms in there. And then also I want to see Monster Island, not Graham Nolan's Monster Island, although I do want to see that, but the movie, which has like this gill man, and it's like these two World War II guys, like an American and a Japanese guy that are during World War II crash on this island, and there's a gill man there. I'm sure it's horrible, but the gill man actually looks pretty good, so I want to see that too. It's on Shudder, which I believe is a streaming service, which I don't have, so I don't know how I'm going to get it, but I don't know that I'm going to order it just to watch that movie, but All right, so enough about the Kraken. Let's take a look at this brand new video of Bigfoot. So unbelievable Bigfoot sighting caught on the trail cam in Alaska. Watch as this elusive creature stares directly at the camera, raising more questions than it answers. Of course it does. There he is. So allegedly Bigfoot is like fooling with the camera. That's why it keeps turning and shaking. I'm not sure why it's dissolving like that, though. Unfortunately, there's nothing that even remotely looks real about this. This is, I mean, come on. It's bad AI is what this is. The design of I mean, look at this. It doesn't even look like a real like skin texture or anything. Darren Wagner says, I give them points for the brazen attempt. Henry Thrun says, I have to go. Apparently he can't take any more Bigfoot videos. Or maybe the Kraken's just too much for him. A lot of people are releasing the Kraken, so. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, this is terrible. And again, you've got guys on these channels going, ooh, look at this. It's like, it's so good and it's so clear and it's so real. Look at the eyes, they're piercing. And you're just like, come on, man. I do fear to the point where AI is so good we can't tell the difference, but I still expect better AI than this at this point. Randy Howell says Frazetta released the butt Kraken earlier today, and that is true. He did. All right. Now I call this birch tree Bigfoot. This sadly is just a still. There's no movement here, but So this doesn't really tell us anything. Sure, it could be a Bigfoot walking through these birch trees. I mean, I don't even think people are doing costumes anymore, because with AI, why do you even have to do costumes? I could put a fuzzy little shape in Photoshop and drop it into a photo like this and make it look pretty good. So, you know, but I do like the fact that they got scholarly on us here and gave us, you know, the average height of an adult white birch tree in the forest from 49 to 82 feet. I can confirm this. I've seen many birch trees. I'm not sure what this tree in the foreground has to do with measuring his height, but a 7.2 to 7.9 feet tall. And the creature right down here, judging by its sharpness, is located approximately 49 to 82 feet from the shooting point. That's a huge variation, of course, 49 to 82. So anyway, we're assuming, if this is real, that this creature is from, you know, 7 and some to 8 feet tall. And if the measurements are correct based on this photograph, then we'd at least have to assume that if it was a faked photograph, that they took this calibration into mind. So good on them. This is a good point right here. People are notoriously bad at judging distances. It's true. The height scale means nothing to me unless we use known distances. Right, because you're just guessing. I mean, how do we know how tall this birch tree is? You know, how do we know this is that? If the camera angle is here, let's say I'm 6 foot tall. So does that mean this is 12 feet tall? And, you know, I mean, and then you're judging the distance, you could be off by 40 feet. You know, that makes a bit of a difference there. Avenger 2 also wants to know, he says, why is it all the in focus Bigfoot photographs and films look like guys wearing masks and costumes? Well, that's why most of them are out of focus, because they know they ain't fooling anybody. And now, like I said, it's now with AI, we've got even a bigger problem to solve, because you're going to see more and more of these videos, but perhaps the quality will rise up with the, you know, a better learned use of AI. Let's see. Jaron Wagner, apparently he's a cryptozoologist, says the proportions with regards to the arms do not match eyewitness accounts. So you're saying the arms should be longer? More monkey-like? I know. Paul Taylor's saying that the AI films will get better and better. I know, and it's very disturbing. It was not going to be long before we really can't tell the difference, and that's when society gets really scary. Speaking of really scary, you want to see the best video you've ever seen of Bigfoot? You're about to see it right here. Or is it just more AI? Huh? How about that? He's got a little tail there, it looks like. I like that, like Peter Cottontail right there on his bum. Okay, so this is without a doubt the best Bigfoot video ever taken. Unfortunately, it is also without a doubt clearly AI, but it's superior AI to what we've seen prior to this. But you can still tell it's AI. Oh, here it is. Paul Taylor says it's in focus trail cam. Yeah, they do have those. But they Yes, CG is still obvious fake. Right. I agree. Because you can tell that it is a, you can just tell by looking at it that it's a generated image. However, for those who are not as well versed, it's pretty good though. I mean, I can tell by looking at it, it's AI, but I still think it's pretty good. I like the design. You got the long arms, the bulky, short legs. But I'll tell you something right now. Something this big and lumbering in the woods, there's no freaking way that one of these things has not been shot, killed, or captured if they're really out there. I mean, you see the hand isn't quite, remember Westworld? They said they hadn't perfected the hands on the robots in Westworld. What? Look at his hand. The inside of that hand. I'm not sure that's all that great. I'm not sure that they pulled that off all that great right there. It looks a little funky to me. But imagine what this would look like 2 years from now with like an expert in AI manipulation. I still wouldn't believe it, but I might be really impressed. I mean, look, they got the, you know, the leaves crunching down where he steps and things like that. I mean, it's not bad. But it does have that sort of obvious AI look to it. Marcus Killer is saying, what? This is so fake. No, I think it's fake. It looks fake because of telltale AI signs that are evident in this. That you can just tell. You can still tell what's AI and what isn't. You can still tell. But this is about as good as you could hope for at this point. And so someone brings us into my cryptozoology fake Bigfoot class. They're probably getting an A for this. This is one of the better ones. Well, maybe give it a B plus because I can still tell it's AI, but I think the lighting's a little suspect here too. But look at the little tail. It's a nice little detail right there. The hair looks pretty good. You know what really pisses me off about this? No one has to work that hard to do this. You just like type in Bigfoot walking through leaves and you've got practically this image. It just ticks me off. If you want to consider AI to be art, then there's got to be some effort, human effort put into it to create it, or it's not art. And that's why I mock AI and all these AI artists, because they're not artists. Putting in a couple of commands, I don't care. Oh, it took me 30 minutes. Oof, wow. You guys have seen those videos that people are making now, like we'll post our artwork and you put it in AI and it animates the scene for like 5 or 6 seconds or whatever. And all you have to do is put in a couple of commands and it just does it, you know? And whatever. I'm being a grumpy old man again. AI Comics wouldn't take long to produce. Oh, you just wait. If comic books survives, you know, if the industry as a whole survives a few more years, that's exactly what they're going to be doing. Because they'll save, so they don't have to pay anybody. They'll have to pay a AI prompter. And boom. Some guy came up to me at SummerCon, and I told this story, but I'll tell it again because it's what we're talking about. Where he said, oh, I got this real great idea. How do I pitch it to Marvel? And I was talking to him for a long time about it. And it turns out it was like he just put a couple prompts into AI and it gave him character names and a story and all. He didn't do anything. And he was trying to pitch it to Marvel. And I said, why would Marvel pay you for something they can do in 5 minutes on AI? You haven't conceptualized anything. But his idea was you doing like Universal monsters, but using Marvel's. They all got like attacked by the Venom symbiote. And so you had the Werewolf by Night as a symbiote, Frankenstein as a symbiote, the Living Mummy as a symbiote. And so, I mean, is that all you're going to have to do is sit there and at people at Marvel or DC going, Superman fights Lex Luthor and Luthor uses kryptonite to kill him. Write me a story, draw it. I mean, that's what it's going to become. And it's just sick. It's sick and technically perverted. And before you know it, Arnold Schwarzenegger is coming to your door asking if your name is Sarah Connor. You just wait. It's going to happen. And we're all going to be screwed and go, why did we let this happen? Let's see here. Freakabuga says the Lopez Sunday Lowdown live with Aaron Lopresti. Well, I mean, it's Aaron live right now. That's basically the same thing. You've seen the resty, now try the bestie. Oh boy, that's good stuff right there. Someone ought to do an AI of Anna the Star Wars girl speaking with Tommy Wiseau's voice, acting out the scenes where he acts really gay with Mark Hamill in those Star Wars spoof videos. I have to admit, I don't know who Tommy Wiseau is, and I have not seen the Mark Hamill gay Star Wars spoof videos. So I'm sure there's so much of that out there right now. I don't even like keep up on the Star Trek stuff. I'm just, who has time to watch TV? I'm over there drawing. I'm drawing a splash page right now that has, I can't tell you what's on it, but it's for Wraith of God 3. 6 pages. What do I got? 5 or 6 pages to go. And I'm done. So it's like just the ultimate splash page. It's the last splash page in the story. And it is a big moment. So there you go. Joseph Panthelon says, nice cap, Aaron. Thank you. I do have some of these left. Email me. Can hook you up. Paul Taylor says, I just had it up. Andre the Giant Bigfoot is the best Bigfoot. Is he though? Really? He's an alien robot Bigfoot. Come on now. The best Bigfoot, well, it's a toss-up between Rick Baker's Harry and the Hendersons, which I really like, and the Jack Link's Beef Jerky Bigfoot, which I really, really like too. So there you go. Those are the two, in my opinion, bestest Bigfoots. So all right, so now I got to go look this up. It says, you're better off remembering good sci-fi of the past rather than watching the mediocrity even most hardcore fans make now. The Tommy Wiseau spoofs from Pistol Shrimps are still good. All right, Pistol Shrimps. See, that's a good name. I don't know what it means, but it makes me go. So that's the thing. It's like if you're going to rebrand, you have to have a name that sort of speaks to what your channel's about. Because I guess the idea is you bring in people outside of the CG family that they're unfamiliar with you. And I guess the name branding would maybe what bring them in. I don't know. Marketing strategy is not my forte, to be honest with you. Spaceman, that's what we were just talking about. Andre the Giant was the $6 million Bigfoot. Wasn't he? Wasn't that Andre the Giant, or was it somebody else that played that Bigfoot in $6 Million Man? I don't know. Now I'm questioning myself. Paul says $6 Million Man Bigfoot was Andre the Giant. Okay. All right. Good. Ted Cassidy Bigfoot was good. Okay, but what movie was that, Henry? There was that movie, EGA. That was horrible. We played that big caveman. Ted Cassidy was also $1 Million Man Bigfoot Rock. No, he was okay. No. Hang on a second. Okay, Ted Cassidy was also $1 Million Man Bigfoot. So it wasn't Andre the Giant, it was Ted Cassidy. See, now there's a disagreement in the chat. I don't know who to believe. And you say Rock from Star Trek. It was actually Ruck. It's R-U-C-K, not Rock. I always thought it was Rock too, but it's Ruck from Star Trek. Lurch from the Addams Family. That, yes, is correct. Ted Cassidy. That is correct. But he was he was a $6 Million Man Bigfoot. Okay, now hang on a second. So both, he played him one time of the two Bigfoots that were on the, okay, there's two Bigfoot episodes of $6 Million Man. I don't remember the one. I guess I have to go back and look at that. There you go. Darren Wager confirming Andre played Bigfoot in the first appearance. After that, it was Ted Cassidy. Okay, so why didn't Bigfoot just get his own series at that point? Give him the spin-off series, you know? Do you remember there was a 70s show called it wasn't, I want to say it was Lobo, but it wasn't. It was something like that, but it was Lobo the Wolf Boy or something. And he wasn't like a werewolf, but he had like this sort of like, the wolf was his spirit animal and he had a pet wolf that he traveled around with. Does anybody remember this show? Okay, everybody's confirming that it was both, not Sheriff Lobo Maroney. Oh, and he says Bigfoot also appeared in The Bionic Woman. There it is, Henry Jeremick. Thank you. Lucan the Wolf Boy. Yes, that's the one I'm thinking of. Yeah, there was Bigfoot and Wild Boy. I remember that. Okay. All right. Great MST3K on EGA. We did that on like Comicsgate Live or something. We did that one late night back a couple years ago. We watched that EGA film and oh my gosh. Woo! I'm sorry, but too many people that can't even put together. And I mean, if you said to me, Aaron, here's Ted Cassidy, make him a caveman, have some young chicks get in peril. He lives out in the desert. I guarantee you I could make at least a fun and entertaining caveman movie with a low budget. These guys that made these movies are like, oh, I want to put my son in the movie and blah, blah, blah. Okay, but can you come up with a decent story? I mean, don't you know anybody that could like come up with a decent story? God, they're so boring. It's terrible. But anyway. To forget most of the 1970s. Come on, man. The 70s, they shaped my life. All right. You know what, guys? I got to go grill hamburgers. I promised I'd do it. So there you go. That's all we got for today. I want to thank you guys for joining me. Couldn't do it, of course, without you, the beloved chat. Thank you so much. Thank you for the super chats. Appreciate it very much. Thank you for tuning in. Please hit the like and subscribe. And please remember to follow those links in the description of this video to back Wraith of God, Fear Hollow, if you haven't done so. And if you need to catch up on anything, go to my website, pick up back issues, books, prints, original art, whatever you might be looking for. And also there is original art, new original art pieces on the Wraith of God campaign page. So you want to go, if you're an art collector, go check those out as well. Thank you all. Have a great Sunday. And we'll see you right here next week on Aaron Live. Good night, everybody.